And we're here with my good friend, Dr. David Klein. He is my doctor, and I wish he was yours too, because here is a guy that is as friendly as the day is long and as smart as they come when it comes to medical science. One of the things that we want to talk about today is I've been hearing an awful lot of headlines recently about states and about attorneys general that are looking very closely at some of these health food stores and as to what they're selling. And I've often been the kind of guy that says, when I want to see or I want to buy some of these nutraceuticals or I want to buy a supplement, I want to know who is the person behind it. So, doctor, you've been doing a lot of studying on this and you've been hearing the stories too.
Well, it's kind of interesting, actually. This came out of New York. Not that we're any great friends of the New York Attorney General, but in this case, we might well be. The NYAG came out with a very interesting investigation concerning and involving certain chains of vitamin and herb stores, but not only that, but including some of the major pharmacies as well. So it's kind of neat. GNC, Vitamin World, Walgreens, to name just a few, are now involved in a defensive posture with regards to some of the supplements that they're selling. The allegations go something like this. There's nothing in your pills. There's nothing in your capsules. That which is on the label is not inside the capsule. No kidding. So the issue here is very simple. You have to understand that in the eye of the government, in the eye of the FDA, there's something called claims made. And on the labels, it's not supposed to so much as mention an organ or an organ system, a function or a disease state, or it runs afoul of the feds. So you can't call something heart this or liver that. You can't call it immune this or immune that. It's just simply against the law. Yet a lot of companies do it until they get nailed. Well, in this case, they did. They went after these herbal products looking for ginkgo. Couldn't find any. Okay, so you're paying for something that is not in the capsule. Well, gee, it might be cheap, it might be inexpensive, but nothing is more expensive than paying for something that isn't there, okay? And when it comes to any type of medication intervention, whether it's herbal, ethical, it doesn't make any difference. It's dose related. What this means simply is that it takes enough or a range of a particular item in order to have a medical effect.
Okay, so what we're dealing with here is companies that for a long time, maybe they didn't know this was going on. Maybe they didn't know their supplier was giving them things. But where's the quality control?
Well, it's kind of like the little old lady, where's the beef, okay? And the beef was never there. And, it's the thought process. It's the general consensus that not only did they not know, and not only did they not seem to care, but they never knew and never cared, and therein lies the problem. So, guys like me are out there trying to put together product lines or products just individually that have what they say they have. So I'll go to a pharmaceutical company, a real pharmaceutical company, have things made, then they send me the assay. And this is the key here, the assay. What is that? It's a third-party determination telling me, and in turn, I tell you what the heck is in there, how much, and more importantly, with certain things, what's not in there. So when you're getting assays, things like fish oil in particular, you need to know. You need to be with absolute certainty that there's no mercury in there. Well, guess what? Where's the assay? So I make sure that I see the assays, and that thereby keep myself abreast of what's going on. If something's not proper, I will know it and I will not buy it, present it to anybody else. There are a lot of people that do it that way that are a lot like I am, but the chains are not, okay? It's all about the extra quarter. And what we're talking about here is about 25 cents difference. You're not talking serious money between having top drawer and garbage. Unfortunately, much of what's on your nightstand there is garbage, and that's the way it goes. And a lot of the docs that are out there will use this as ammunition, unfortunately, to tell you that what you're taking is no good, when in fact they really have to pay attention to what the capsule is, where it's from, and thereby get a better understanding of what's happening. You can't ride a Cadillac for a Yugo price. It isn't going to happen. Harleys don't go for Vespa prices. It isn't that way in the world.
Well, let me ask you this. Arguably, if anybody has studied retail outside of like your store, because you only have one brand, if they've studied retail, they know that shelf space is what sells. It's not the product, it's the shelf space. So is that why when I go into a big box drugstore or pharmacy store or whatever, or I go into a health food store in Orlando, and I may see 17 different brands offering the same sort of things, whether it be taurine, berberine, 5-HT, whatever it is. All right, now some people are brand crazy, or maybe some people it's right at their eye level. But, why does one store have to carry 13 different name brands when you don't know what you're getting?
Well, it kind of gets back to the Macy's model, okay, whereas you throw everything out there and something will sell. Okay, when you go to a grocery store, you'll see 15, 20 different ketchup bottles, okay, and you take your pick. Well, guess what? Most people can actually taste the difference between the top drawer ketchup, the top drawer mustard products, the top drawer mayonnaise products, but they don't know enough about the nutraceuticals which are actually keeping them alive and healthy to make a difference here. They don't know how to check it. You can't open these bottles up and do a sniff test. That might work for some things. It doesn't work for this. You can't pick up a melon, in this case, and squeeze it. Try squeezing the bottles and see if it makes any difference. So what you have to do is ask for the assay. And I've been having patients calling me up for the past 2 weeks or so since the story broke, asking, do we check the assays? And the answer is absolutely. Unfortunately, I haven't been putting them on file, but what I am going to start doing is putting them up on the internet. So you can look at it and say, oh, there it is. And, it may confuse you a little bit, but at least you'll know the document exists. Try doing that and asking the technician at one of the box stores, do you have the assays? They're going to ask you this question, what's an assay?
Mm-hmm. And that, of course, is where the rubber meets the road. But you're talking to a clerk, and usually that clerk is the guy from the back room that's stocking the shelves, and the only thing he knows about berberine is where it is, alphabetically, on about 27 different shelves by different manufacturers. Doesn't make any sense. So this is causing harm because, one, financially, but number two, people are thinking they're getting what they're not getting.
Well, this is the way the dialogue goes. What does berberine do? Oh, about 12 bottles a month. Okay, that's the answer you're going to get. Okay, and you can't expect anything else. So, the take-home message is this. One, buy quality. It doesn't cost that much more than buying garbage. Know your product before you walk in. Understand that the clerk that's selling you this stuff may know a great deal less than you do. And if you need advice, ask somebody who really knows what's going on. That may or may not be your doctor. It may or may not be the nurse. It probably won't be either of the above. But it's going to be somebody that has a background in nutrition or a background in natural medicine. And that's kind of what we do at Stages of Life. I don't really care too much whether you get the stuff from us or somebody else, as long as what you get is going to be a quality product. Because in the end, it's not how long you live, but how well you live. And that's a fact.
And, of course, I do want to point out that those who are hearing us for the first time, I'm talking to Dr. David Klein of the Stages of Life Medical Institute in Longwood, and he is an expert, and that's why I have him on here as our preferred provider on the Rob Newton Resource Hour. When you go to his nutraceutical store, everything in there has been designed by the doctor himself, and it has been manufactured under his oversight and put usually with one of his really funny names sometimes in some of these products. So what is the thing that people probably need most out of, we've talked about a lot of additives, I call them. You call them nutraceuticals. Got about a minute left. What are some of the things people need most in their daily diet?
Well, these things come in certain areas, and most everybody lumps things together because that's the way they were taught, vitamins and minerals, as if it were one word. Most of the nutrient deficiencies in our diet, that's the Western diet, are mineral in nature. Why? Because the soil has long been depleted of these minerals. You can neither create nor destroy a mineral. It's an element. So when you start looking to supplement your diet, you start looking for the things that are most likely to be deficient. And this would include magnesium, manganese, zinc, copper, potassium, oddly enough, vanadium, and chromium. Selenium is wickedly important with regards to the thyroid. So you start with the mineral chelates. Most of the garbage that's on the shelf in these stores are inorganic salts that do not get absorbed. So those of you that garden understand that if you want to deliver iron to your lawn, you don't throw rust out there. It isn't going to work. So this is how it works. You get quality. It does not cost a lot of money, but you'd better do your research.
And, of course, you can get the nutraceuticals at the Stages of Life by going online. And, Robin, what is that? And speak up loud and clear. How can they do that?
You can go on the web at www.stagesoflife.net and click on the Vitamins and Mineral tab. That will take you to our online store. Or give us a call at 407-679-3337.